Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. We had a lot of fun ones tonight, including some crazy upsets, so we're going to go ahead and get right into things. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos, and let's go ahead and talk about it. The best game of the night was Suns versus Pelicans, which is like the third time these two teams have played over the past week and a half, and I'm not complaining. Every single time they've matched up, it's been a really fun game, and this one was no exception, with Phoenix coming out on top 118 to 114 behind Devin Booker's 58 points, the second most points that anybody has scored in the league this season. He was dominant. He shot 21 of 35 from the field. That's over 60%. He was doing it in a variety of ways, as Devin Booker typically does. One of the single most flawless offensive players in the entire NBA right now. There's basically no holes in his game offensively. He is truly capable of being a number one option on a championship team, although I'm sure many of you didn't need me to tell you that. But if you don't believe so, go watch the guy play, because he is just an absolute monster at scoring the basketball. Defensively, he's come a long way too. He was absolutely unstoppable in this one and so fun to watch. He was dominating the Pelicans at basically every turn. Chris Paul had 18, 5, and 8 in a pretty solid performance from him. On the Pelican side, Zion Williamson had 30 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists. He's been amazing so far this season, and every time these two teams have played, he has put on a crazy performance. And CJ McCollum continues to build off of his recent stretch of success with 27 points and 8 dimes. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is the most recent entry in what has been a great season series between these two squads. The first time they played back in October, the Suns ended up winning by 13 points, with Devin Booker having 16, Bridges having 17, and 7 total players on Phoenix scoring in double digits, while the Pelicans were without Zion and Brandon Ingram, but had 20 points from each Najee Marshall and Jonas Valanciunas. In Game 2, the Pelicans struck back, winning by 11 points, despite Chris Paul having 24, 8, and dropping 25 and 14. Devin Booker kind of struggled, which was a big reason why they took the L, but mainly the reason was Zion Williamson is a monster, as he had 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, and most importantly, hit a crazy windmill dunk at the end of the game despite the Pelicans being up big, which the Suns didn't take very kindly to. It caused a scuffle at the end of the game with the Suns getting up in the Pelicans' face. Afterwards, Cameron Payne said in a post-game interview, we don't do stuff like that. They were up and winning. They could have just dribbled the ball out. Chris Paul kind of elbowed Jose Alvarado towards the end of the game as well after Zion's dunk, which caused a whole nother thing in the next game following. But Zion said, these guys knocked out my brothers last year in the playoffs when the Pelicans and the Suns played. Zion wasn't there. He wasn't able to help them out due to his injury. And so he's like, I had to go ahead and fight back for them. I had to show off for the home fans. And I completely agree with that. When the home fans show up, they want to see Zion hit like windmill 360 dunks. That's what they paid to see. I don't like the whole unwritten rules in basketball, dribbling it out. If you want to go ahead and throw down a windmill dunk, the Pelicans earn the right to. If you don't want to get dunked on if you're the Suns, don't lose by like 11 points. Make it a close game or even win by 11 points, and then you don't have to see him go out there and hit a windmill. But this was just the latest entry, and these two teams not really liking each other. Then in Game 3, we had a back and forth affair that went to overtime, with the Pelicans eventually winning by 5 points. Chris Paul hit a midi to send things to OT. There was no Devin Booker, but Mikal Bridges had 27, Ayton had 28 points and 12 boards. But once again, Zion Williamson had 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists, continuing to dominate the Suns every time they play. CJ McCollum had 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 dimes. Once again, no Brandon Ingram in this one either. And so overall, the season series is now 2-2. These teams have fought back and forth. There was a scuffle at half court. They've talked about in post-game interviews how they don't like each other. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to see this playoff series maybe more than anyone else. And these two teams aren't just fighting tooth and nail every time they go up against each other. They're jockeying for placement in the West. The Pelicans are right there behind the Grizzlies for the 1 seed. You've got the Phoenix Suns, who are right there at the 4 seed, maybe even the 3 after this win. Those squads are all really, really close. So each one of these games matters so much, and the effort, the hustle, the rivalry that I'm feeling between these two teams, it would be an amazing playoff series. And we haven't even seen these two squads play each other healthy, as Brandon Ingram, I don't think, has played in a single one of these matchups. CJ McCollum has missed some time, Zion's missed some, Brandon Ingram has missed some, Cam Johnson missed some time. These two teams have yet to play fully healthy, and if they do, it would be an incredible maybe 6-7 game series between these two squads, two of the best in the Western Conference. They don't like each other. Their series last year, despite not having Zion Williamson, was one of the most fun of the first round with Jose Alvarado getting up in Chris Paul's face, Brandon Ingram going off for like 25, 30 points a game. It was an amazing matchup, and I want to see it again because we don't have many rivalries in the NBA right now. There used to be like Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, all those Celtics versus Lakers rivalries. We even had, Cavs Warriors a few years ago was a pretty big rivalry, although Golden State won basically every single one of those final series. But we used to have some like back and forth rivalries in the NBA. Golden State versus Houston was kind of another one in the playoffs. But now there really isn't too much of that, mainly due to some player turnaround. Squads rise up and down the standings all the time. It's just really not like that anymore. But with these two teams, this is a legit rivalry. They do not like each other. They go really hard against each other every single time they play. And I think a playoff series between these two is exactly what the sport needs. I am praying that somehow we see these two teams matched up. It would be a fun 6-7 game series. Every single game would be close. There would probably be some fights, some jawing back and forth between these two teams. I really want to see it. This is the playoff series we need to get in the Western Conference. Adam Silver, make it happen. In some other league news, the Cavaliers faced off against the Dallas Mavericks, getting a 1-point win, with Dallas not having Luka Doncic. Donovan Mitchell had 25 points, Evan Mobley had 17, 8, and 4, and Darius Garland had 18 points and 12 dimes. But the story of the game, despite losing, was Kemba Walker, who got signed by the Mavericks a few weeks ago and hasn't really played. He's played a few minutes here and there in two different matchups, but this was the first time where he really got some real runs starting at point guard, and he went off. He had 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He shot 12 of 25 from the field. He hit 4 threes. He was hooping out there. He even drove past Jared Allen for a game-tying layup to send this thing to overtime despite catching the L once they got there. He looked like Kemba Walker of old, and it's so fun to see because Kemba Walker is a player that I have kind of a special place for in my heart. I loved it when he was at UConn. That March Madness run is one of my first memories of watching basketball intently. My dad went to UConn, so just getting to see Kemba Walker go out there and hoop at a high level is so fun to watch. I hope he continues to get some run because I really think he could be a high-level bench player for them over the course of this season. Now, we did have something similar last year where he went off for the Knicks. I think he had like a triple-double or something like that in one of his very few games for the New York Knicks last year, but eventually, he kind of got back to not being super good. So hopefully this is a different case where he can kind of recapture some of this magic after getting some time off, but who knows, we'll see. But for now, shout out to Kemba Walker. Also shout out to Christian Wood, who had 26 points and 14 rebounds. I almost forgot him. Final game I want to go in depth into is Thunder versus Grizzlies, one that I was very scared for because we didn't have Shea or Giddey in tonight's game, and we were going up against Memphis, who has really had our number the past few seasons. You might remember a 73-point loss that happened last year where the Thunder didn't have Shea and didn't have Giddey, so it was kind of bringing back some bad memories for me. So going into this one, I had no real expectations, and then the Thunder went up by 20 points multiple times in the game and ended up winning because basketball is just a weird sport. We were led by Lou Dort, who had 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 dimes, while Isaiah Joe, who, thank you Sixers for waiving him and letting us pick him up because he's been one of our best shooters this year and really feels like he could be a long-term bench piece. He had 23 points, including 5 threes. That's a career high in terms of scoring output. Just an amazing game from those guys. A bunch of other players like Poku, Wiggins, Kenrich Williams, Trey Mann. Everybody stepped up in a big way to help us get this win. For the Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks dropped 32 points. Jaren Jackson had 16 points and 8 rebounds. But overall, it wasn't enough, especially since John Morant didn't play the second half as he got ejected with 2 technical fouls at the end of the first. It was weird. He got his first technical, jawing with referees and stuff like that. But the second one, he seemed to be talking to someone in the crowd. And I saw a tweet out there. I'll try and flash it up on the screen if I remember to. But basically, apparently Ja was talking to a, Grizzly super fan that was attending the game in Oklahoma City. And she's like, Ja, you got this. Like, you're doing great. And Ja said something like, not if the referees have anything to say about it, which ended up getting him his second tech, or at least that's the story that I saw. He tweeted out saying like that was cap after the game. So who really knows, but he ended up getting ejected by the end of things. So overall, just a very weird game. And, the Thunder come out on top out of absolutely nowhere. To quickly wrap up the rest of the games, Kawhi Leonard led the Clippers to a win over the Wizards with 31 points. Anthony Simons had 32 in a win over Houston. The Heat beat the Spurs behind Jimmy Butler's 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 dimes, while Bobby Portis led the way for the Bucks in a win with 22 and 14 over the Utah Jazz. That's all I've got for y'all tonight. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Also, comment down below letting me know who you think would win in a Suns versus Pelicans series and in how many games, and do you agree that it's one that we absolutely need to see? I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.